What's the deal with this?
Or this.
I'm Alexis.
And I'm Kelly. I'm the Land Conservation Manager for Eau Claire County.
Wisconsin has been producing frac sand for over 40 years, and the demand for sand has increased quickly within the past few years.
The demand for sand increased so quickly because they found a new way to actually gather natural gas as part of oil exploration activities and such. And so with that, they actually need more sand in the same number of wells, a smaller number of wells. So with the sand, that actually is why the sand is even used, is because why?
Because they use hydraulic fracturing, which pushes the frac sand into the ground and makes the gases and oils go up.
Perfect. So with all this new exploration and the horizontal drilling that comes along with that process, they actually need more sand, which all of a sudden we started seeing that in our area right here in the Chippewa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So with the mining activity, what happens is they remove the material from the hillside and it goes to a wash plant. And at the wash plant, they actually wash the fine materials out. A lot of times that consists of clay, silts, those kind of things that are not sellable material. So they clean that out. It then gets processed and dried and then sorted actually through a sieve to grade out the sizes of the sand. And then after that, then any waste material, waste could actually just be very fine sand. It doesn't necessarily seem waste, but it's just not the material they're looking for in the frac sand industry. They're very particular about the size, the quality, the hardness, and the shape of the sand. So with all of that, they do have a couple of different materials that are of concern, and most of the time very fine materials like clay or silt, or very fine sands that are not the proper grade. So sometimes flocculants are used in order to help stabilize those. Flocculants can be something like polyacrylamide is the name of a flocculant that's commonly used, and it actually allows for those materials to clump up and settle out so that they are no longer able to be spread either through water or air.
Some potential problems with managing it is that sometimes the wastewater can get into the groundwater and affect populations of people and animals, or the wastewater can get into streams and rivers and affects populations of fish and animals that live in or near the river. And then lastly, the airborne particles can get into people's lungs, causing them to get sick.
So would this cause me to get sick?
No.
How about this one? It's smaller.
Still no.
Oh, what about this one?
Probably not.
But it's really small.
Well, what we're talking about is pieces of sand and dust that is 1/16 the size of the width of a human hair. Tiny dust particles, sometimes called particulate matter, can be inhaled by people when they are scattered during the mining and processing process. They're usually only a few microns, which is a millionth of a meter in diameter, and when they are inhaled, they can be linked to lung disease and lung cancers called silicosis.
So the Occupational Safety and Health Administration with the U.S. federal government has actually drafted a rule that helps outline safety requirements for levels of silica dust that our workers and neighbors are exposed to. And 79% of the samples that were taken at 11 fracking sites in 5 states were actually exceeded that recommended exposure limit set by the OSHA, otherwise known as OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So it's definitely something we want to look at. and make sure that we do have safe areas both for the workers and the neighbors.
The reason that we use fracking as a way to get natural gas and oil is because that previously we couldn't access these resources, but when we use frac sand, we can reach those sources and use them.
So we solve the problems by doing everything we can to minimize potential impacts.
Like minimize the exposed surfaces of mines.
Right, and even install practices to keep sediments and other chemicals from going into our air or water.
And we can make the mines usable by reclaiming them when we're done with them, once the people are done with mining it, and to make it beneficial to use again.
Sure. And even when it comes to the fracking wells, if we can explore some safer and alternative chemicals to mix in with the water and frac sand that's being injected, that'll help everything, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.